there's a function, then tea. Then they've got some other things, but हम लोग उसी समय But point is there will be a chance to interact. But it just seemed like such a weird situation. It's not my nature to like push through crowds of people. She got in from London last night. She got in just yesterday. It just seemed like that's why I left it. I don't think so. I think when she comes and they feel like that, that's why I left it. Because it was like the first seat. So many John Patriarchia, Taki, if they need that first seat, they have it. Because John is the I love it. Because I don't even know. Hanging out to the thing. Speak. So surprised owner. But yeah, originally it's like a street. I'll just maybe say no home. You can give me my purse, sweetie. Now I'm sitting.
We cannot ignore this earth that surrounds us, that feeds us, shelters us, replenishes our bodies and our soul. People, animals, our environment. When nature suffers, we suffer. And when nature flourishes, we all flourish. I do believe in the possibility of a world where we can live in harmony with nature, but only if every one of us does our part to make that world a reality, so that when you look back over your journey, your life, you can truly say, I did make a difference.
Can we play that again?
Please bless her. Please bless her.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. We are very who is either at the refreshment stall or walking towards us to please be seated in the next.
Animals, our environment. When nature suffers, we suffer. And when nature flourishes, we all flourish. I do believe in the possibility of a world where we can live in harmony with nature, but only if every one of us does.
Welcome to you all. For those who don't live in Bombay, let me just say that the weather reflects our heart. It's always warm in Mumbai. So, thank you for being here. This is a momentous occasion for us. for us at Jane Goodall Institute to have our founder here and to have the Ocean Literacy Dialogues for the very first time in India. We could not have done this without our partners. A special thank you to the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission, UNESCO India, British Council and CSMVS are very gracious hosts. Thank you everybody for being here, and I'm looking forward to a really enriching morning ahead. With that, I would like to invite on stage Mr. Sabyasachi Mukherjee, Director General of CSMVS Museum.
When nature suffers, we all suffer. When nature cries, we all cry. What a wonderful quote. Thank you, Dr. Jain. Thank you for being with us. Good morning. Welcome to the 102-year-old museum, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj Vastu Sangrahalaya, formerly Prince of Wales Museum of Western India. I also wish to welcome you all to our little Santi Niketan, I call it Santi Niketan, in Mumbai, the embodiment of peace, used as the children's museum. And this is the only children's space in the city. Here we maintain a harmonious relationship with nature, which is very rare in the city of 23 millions. This is our privilege and a huge honor to have renowned conservationist, anthropologist, primatologist, Dr. Jane Goodall amongst us. Thank you, Dr. Jane, for gracing the occasion. We are also thankful to all our partners for organizing the first Ocean Literacy Dialogues at the CSMVS Museum. Our special thanks to Dr. Jane Goodall Institute India, UNESCO Intergovernmental Oceanography Commission, British Council, and the UNESCO India. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to host this much needed conversation. This is a museum and the only green museum in the country with the IGBT recognition. This is a knowledge production center, an institution for social as well as academic enlightenment, an archive of memories, and also an open space for conversation. The key role of the museum is to record human history. We found an old newspaper article from the museum archive by Justin Gills. It says, I quote, "Antarctica's ice to melt if all fossil fuel is burnt. A subsequent sea level rise of 200 feet will see London, Paris, New York, Hong Kong, and Tokyo being submerged," unquote. I suppose Mumbai might be on the list too, though it was not mentioned in the article. This is an indication that the global warming process is already in motion, and few sincere collective attempts have been made to address this issue. Now the question before us is, how do we heal the wounds that already inflicted massive injuries so that our Mother Earth and living beings may sustain many thousands of years and maintain the ecological balance for the general welfare of humanity and other beings in the universe? It has been truthfully said that the next generation is going to judge us by not what we have preserved, but what we have destroyed either negligently or deliberately. I look forward to listening from you. Thank you for being with us. Thank you.
One moment, Mr. Mukherjee.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mukherjee. We are the city by the sea, whether we drown in it or not. Therefore, it's imperative that we have the Ocean Dialogues here. If you'll just come up for a minute, Shweta, can I have you as well? Please come.
Sure.
Please come. Shweta Nair, Executive Director of Jane Goodall Institute, India. My boss, very exhausting boss. But yeah, she's a whirlwind and it's been a fantastic journey with her that has brought us to this point. Shweta, over to you.
Thank you, Ravana. Here today with all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Jane, Mr. Sabyachi Mukherjee, Tim Curtis, Alison, Francesca and Sarviji. It is a profound honor to welcome you all to this historic movement, India's first ocean literacy dialogue here in Mumbai. This gathering is not just a milestone for us at the Jane Goodall Institute, India, but more importantly, a critical step towards nurturing a deeper understanding of our planet's most vital resource, our ocean. The ocean, vast and mysterious, has been our planet's lifeblood for billions of years. It regulates our climate, provides over half of the oxygen we breathe, and support countless species, from tiny planktons to the largest whales. The ocean connects us all, whether we live by its shore or far inland. We are bound to it in ways that we may not always recognize. Yet today, our ocean faces unprecedented threats. The urgency to protect and restore the health of our ocean has never been greater. Yet, this dialogue we are inaugurating today is about more than raising awareness. It's about shifting our mindsets to truly understand the ocean's role in sustaining life on Earth, in turn our responsibility to safeguard it. As India's representative for ocean literacy on the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission, I believe that India has a significant role to play in supporting the region's initiative for a healthier ocean. Today's dialogue has started the ball rolling to understand how indigenous tradition knowledge can be married with global approaches. It encourages discussions on major challenges like plastic, bycatch, and degradation of ecosystems like mangroves. Above all, it throws the spotlight on successful projects and the beauty of our magnificent ocean. Today, I am deeply gratified by the presence of someone who has significantly shaped the course of my own life, Dr. Jane Goodall, the world's most celebrated conservationist whose lifelong dedication to our planet has inspired millions, including me. I would also like to acknowledge Francesca Santoro, who has worked tirelessly to advance ocean literacy on a global scale. Their presence here today is a testament to the power of knowledge, hope, and unwavering commitment to a better future for our planet. These dialogues are for everyone: educators, policymakers, industry leaders, and above all, young people, because it is the next generation who will inherit this world, and it is our duty to equip them with the wisdom and tools to protect it. Our hope today is to spark conversation that will lead to lasting change. Let this dialogue be the beginning of a deeper commitment to our ocean, where we not only speak of conservation but actively participate in it, where we build communities that understand, respect, and protect the ocean just as it has nurtured us for so long. Thank you all for being here, for your passion, your curiosity, and your willingness to join us on this journey. Let us make the most of this opportunity to learn from one another, and most importantly, to act. Because together we can protect our ocean, our planet, and create a more sustainable and harmonious world for all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shweta. Baby steps, but I think in the right direction. I'd like to invite on stage Alice for a few words, please.
Good morning, everyone. Such a pleasure to be here again at this fantastic museum. Thank you so much, Dr. Mukherjee, for hosting us here this morning. So I'm here today wearing 3 hats. I'm here as a concerned citizen. Some of you believe passionately that we need to work together to find solutions to the climate crisis. I'm here with a hat on as the former director of the British Council's Global Climate Connection Programme, which brings young people together from around the world to find solutions to climate change. And I'm here now as the country director of the British Council, where I'm incredibly fortunate to have a platform to work together with amazing partners like the Jane Goodall Institute, UNESCO, CSVNDS, to really bring about change. And I'm here to introduce one of the world's most celebrated and incredible conservationists to do our great talk this morning. Our great talks bring together young people, people with particular interest in some of the most pressing issues of our time, to hear from the experts, from some of the most inspiring speakers. And we're just so delighted, Dr. Jane, to have you here with us this morning. A series of lectures and talks that we do around the world to support young people, to get them inspired to think about what pathways they can take to make a difference in their futures. We bring together young people to think about business, climate change, sports, and many, many other subjects, doing 6 talks a year in India alone. Thank you so much again for being here this morning. So in my role, I believe that the climate crisis is a little bit of a misnomer. I think it's actually as much of an educational crisis and a cultural crisis as it is a climate crisis. It's about ensuring that we have access to the right knowledge, the right information to make a difference, but it's also about behaviours, it's about values, it's about coming together to really recognise and empathise with each other and building that sense of one community. That's what's really, really important and why we should see it as just educational and a climate crisis. And if we do that, I really believe that we will find solutions that will be different from the run-of-the-mill solutions that perhaps we've seen so far. The British Council is the UK's organisation for cultural relations, and we place young people at the heart of everything we do. And we really ensure that they have the opportunity to get connected to policymakers, to experts like Dr. Jane, and to people that they can really help advocate change with, so that they can, as Shweta said, inherit a greater earth in the future. And of course, oceans are incredibly important. How many of you know how much of the world's surface is covered by oceans? What do you think? 10%? 20%? 30%? 55, 70% according to the research I did, but I have experts in the room that will probably tell us exactly how much it is. And I think that means we should be thinking not just about the planet as being planet Earth, but the planet as being planet water. So maybe that will help shift our mindset and help us think a little bit differently. And oceans, of course, in India have such an incredible part to play. They generate economic benefit and support economic livelihoods. They have a cultural and spiritual importance that runs through the fabric of society here and of course in many cultures around the world. And there's a very strong ecological role of oceans that we need to maintain. But they're receiving such incredible grave threats of pollution, the 8 million tons of plastic waste that enters our oceans every year, of overfishing, of climate change and the impact on coral reefs, on the destruction of habitats. All of these things we'll hear more about today, and I'm really looking forward to learning and thinking about how we can support the solutions that need to make improvements. The UK is working with India on a number of different projects, so I'll just share a couple of those before I finish. So through the £500 million Blue Planet Fund, the UK's worked with India to strengthen the measurements of sea pollution and co-deliver robust data sets for decision-making, which can better protect humans and marine diversity. Under this partnership, 6 collaborative research cruises and environmental surveys have taken place, resulting in 5 peer-reviewed scientific papers with over 2,000 data sets shared, with 40 scientists trained on sampling, data analysis and report writing. The UK has co-developed marine science education packs with 9 state governments, providing content to support teachers for 5 to 16-year-olds, including right here in Maharashtra. We're developing together pilot deep sea expeditions and associated research programs in Lakshadweep to collect data, to document and map deep sea biological resources to inform both countries' contribution to the Convention on Biological Diversity and the SDGs. And we're developing a knowledge exchange hub between the UK and India on marine and ocean engagement, a strong network of professionals studying oceanography. The British Council is also working in partnership with the Central Board of Secondary Education to look at whole school improvement around environmental sustainability. And we're also working with higher education institutions across the country to develop climate skills programs that support communities in and around universities. So there are many, many ways we're working together, the UK and India, to really make a difference. Once again, as I finish, thank you so much to my colleagues, to the GREAT campaign, for bringing Jane here for this incredible talk this morning. I'm really looking forward to hearing from you. I was so inspired when I was part of a panel review last year. I just love the way that you're able to bring your amazing, rich experience of working with animals around the world, with young people around the world, to really bring that research to life and help us see the human nature of climate and biodiversity. So thank you so much. Thank you everyone for being here today.
And that when countries come together to cooperate, we can do really great things. I would now like to invite on stage Mr. Tim Curtis, Regional Director, UNESCO, New Delhi, and lots of other countries in this area. Please welcome Mr. Curtis.
Thank you, and good morning everyone, distinguished guests, organizers, colleagues, all of you who come. It's really an immense honor and a pleasure to stand with you here today on behalf of UNESCO for the Ocean Literacy Dialogues, which is organized by the Jane Goodall Foundation, the CSNVS Museum, and I'm sorry I didn't try to read out the full name, I hope you forgive me, and of course the British Council here in Mumbai. Mumbai, a city whose life and identity, of course, pulse alongside the ocean. UNESCO is very grateful and excited and enthusiastic to be part of this timely convening to understand the deep connections between ocean, climate, and culture. And I don't know if you all know, but those are very dear mandates to our organization and our mission, which looks at education, science, and culture. It's truly humbling, of course, to share this space with Dr. Jane Goodall, herself, whose life and work continue to inspire us all and have inspired generations. And in fact, a few weeks ago, Dr. Goodall was in UNESCO headquarters talking to a large audience, as well as to a collection of ambassadors, who are not always easy people to persuade, and really managed to convey this message of hope. And I'll share, last night I thought I'd better see the main speech. I'd seen the talk with ambassadors, and I pulled it up, and I did something I really do. I watched the full hour and a half, because this was an example of the hope we need in today's world, and the hope, it was really an inspiration, I think, that speaks across cultures, across generations, and across time. One of the things, if I may quote from that speech, and I'm quoting directly from what was said in Paris, it is so true that today the world is in such a state that no one organization can do it alone. We need to collaborate. We need to get together. We need countries and individuals to work together to make a better world. And I think today this is probably truer than ever. And we have the means of getting together today. We need to bring this together. So our conference today is an important step in that, and I hope we can continue working here on the questions of oceans and the questions of land. The ocean is a joint heritage, crucial for the future of our planet, which shares, of course, many challenges. And many of you will recall in 2021, the United Nations launched the Ocean Science Decade, which at UNESCO we're very proud and humbled to lead with our Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission. The UNESCO Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission is working to support ocean research institutions globally, enhancing public engagement in ocean literacy. Through initiatives like the Ocean Teacher Global Academy, UNESCO aims to equip individuals with the knowledge and skills necessary to protect the oceans, and I won't talk about it too much because we have our colleague Francesca who will be able to talk about that much more competently than I soon. But protecting our oceans is intricately connected to what the Secretary General of the United Nations has called the triple planetary crisis: climate disruption, nature and biodiversity loss, and pollution and waste. This crisis is severe. It is threatening the well-being and survival of millions of people around the world. And we must promote collaboration in sciences and ocean sciences. The ocean is an integral part of this crisis, because the ocean is, as Alison said, 71% of our planet. And our planet's unique position in our solar system is a precious balance, making it the only place we know, at least so far, where life as we understand it can thrive. It is here that animals, plants, ecosystems can flourish, sustained by water, soil, air, and living things. The sun's movement across the sky, which is predictable and relatively constant, or constant to us, changes the relationship it shares with the Earth. The Earth's orbit, slightly elliptical, causes its distance from the sun to vary from 147 million to 152 million kilometers. These subtle changes do impact our climate, allowing oceans to remain at the perfect temperature for sustaining life, neither boiling nor freezing. So we must understand this larger perspective too, that we live on a small ball in a much larger universe, which has this incredible richness, this incredible uniqueness, which is our biodiversity. And that biodiversity is intricately linked to the climate we live in, and we are having a massive impact on that. So coming back now, we must understand the ocean, and for many of us who live in cities, we don't necessarily understand the ocean. We don't connect with it. Perhaps here in Mumbai we see the ocean every day, but many people, we are disconnected from nature. We don't live lives where we're engaged with nature, and we suffer from that, and that's why ocean literacy is such an important thing. We really must work to bring together the knowledge of nature back into our societies, not only the knowledge, but the value, the respect, and the connection with it. And that, I believe, and we believe at UNESCO, is fundamental to what we call reconciling with the living world. We must make peace with nature, we must reconcile, and ocean literacy is an important part of that. I'll finish by talking about an initiative that is launched by the United Nations, the Greening Education Partnership, which was launched by the Secretary General at the 2022 Sustaining Education Conference. And the Greening Education Partnership is a partnership now which includes 80 countries and 1,300 organizations across the world, which stands on 4 pillars. Greening curriculum, so that children learn and understand the value of nature and connect about it, but also that they are equipped for the green transition, that we are giving them the skills for the kind of economy we need, and that we are training them. Greening teachers, because teachers are the frontline soldiers of education, and nothing happens without teachers in education. Greening schools and greening communities, because schools themselves can become beacons for communities. Schools are often at the center of community life, and what happens in schools can affect the communities. So on these 4 pillars, I think, will be foundational and instrumental to transforming the next generations, and we must integrate this, as was mentioned by Dr. Guru, across all organizations and across all of the so-called divisions we have. We have to bring together science, education, we have to change the culture, or reconnect, let's say, with a more ancient culture, where people are truly part of nature and understood as that. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you very much for this.
The joy in a beautiful leaf, the wonder in a butterfly's wings, and that is what we do with children in all our programs. And from love, I think, flows action and hope. On that note, I would like to request Sadhvi Bhagwati Saraswati to please come and share her thoughts with us.
What an incredible honor and joy to be here today with you all. When I was young, whenever anyone asked me, what do you want to be when you grow up? The answer was always the same, Jane Goodall. As an adolescent, when all of my friends had pictures on their bedroom walls of heartthrobs, actors, musicians, models, my walls were covered with pages of National Geographic magazine, torn out pages of pictures of Jane and the chimpanzees. To me, Jane represents all that is beautiful about humanity. She represents the best of humanity. That connection, that deep connection to spirit, to source, to the divine, to the self. That connection to all of creation, every species. And she represents our ability to live with that connection, with clarity, with courage, and with compassion. And her courage to follow her dharma was for me a very personally powerful model and inspiration. The fact that she sailed off from England in her early 20s, a young scientist, to Africa, inspired me when everyone told me I was crazy in my early 20s as a young scientist to fly from California to India. Each of us pulled by karmic, dharmic threads that we had yet to see the other side of. I've been in India now almost 30 years, and the way that this culture, that this tradition reveres, loves, honors, celebrates Mother Nature, our water, our air, our creation is so beautiful. और अब मुझे ऐसे लगता है कि मैं केवल भारत में नहीं रहती हूँ, बल्कि भारत मुझ में रहता है। I've been asked to speak to you about the rivers of India for just a couple of minutes. I have the beautiful blessing of living on the banks of Mother Ganga, right near the source of Ganga, of Yamuna. There was since we're in Bombay, the land of Bollywood, there was a very famous movie that gave us a very famous song that said, "Hum us desh ki vasi hain, jis desh mein Ganga bahti hai." And I can tell you कि मैं उस प्रदेश से आई हूँ, जिस प्रदेश से Ganga bahti hai. And it's a beautiful blessing to be from there. And what we see is that the rivers in India are not seen only as the givers of water, the givers of life, but also the givers of liberation, the givers of spiritual upliftment, connection, inspiration. हम लोग जीवन भी देते हैं और जान भी देते हैं. On the banks of Mother Ganga is worshipped as the mother goddess, the giver of liberation. And yet, in addition to her moksha dene wali qualities, she is also the giver of life to more than 500 million of our sisters and brothers who live on her banks and depend on her waters, not just for liberation or moksha after they die, not for heaven after they die, but actually for their ability to live here on earth. The water they drink, the water they cook with, the water they bathe in, the water that irrigates their farms and fields. The Ganga River basin feeds more than a third of India. तो जल है, तो खल है, नदी है, तो everything is there. With no nadi, there is no nothing. If we don't have rivers, we have nothing. More people suffer and die every year due to lack of clean water than due to every form of violence combined. These days, everyone is so worried, rightfully so, we should be, about the violence and the wars taking place in the Middle East, in Ukraine, in Sudan, in Myanmar, in so many places. And we should be. And yet, if you take the number of people who suffer and die every year due to wars, due to communal violence, due to drug-induced violence, due to domestic violence, the sum total pales in comparison to the number of people who suffer and die simply due to lack of clean water. So when we look at our oceans and we look at our rivers, we realize this intricate connection. That which flows through our rivers flows into our oceans. Our rivers are responsible for about 80% of the pollution in our rivers and about 90% of the plastic pollution. So if you want to take care of our oceans, we have to take care of our rivers. And if you want to take care of our rivers, we have to take care of our trees. The Ganga, the Yamuna, they come not just from the glaciers of Gomukh and Yamunotri. They come fed from the mountain springs, from the trees of the Himalayas. The water flowing out of the glacier is tiny in volume. The water, once all of the tributaries from the trees have come, is huge. So we must take care of our trees, and we must take care of our climate. Due to the warming, due to the pollution, due to the carbon emissions, our Gomukh glacier is melting and receding. Aise na ho कि हम कहने लगेंगे कि गंगा एक नदी थी. We must never get to that place where we say there was a river called Ganga. There was a river called Yamuna. And that is up to us. And this is what Jane so beautifully inspires us to do. As Alison was saying, we suffer not just a climate crisis, but an education crisis. I would say we suffer a consciousness crisis because the answers are here. We have the ability, each of us, in the choices and the decisions we make every day, what we eat, what we wear, what we buy, how we live, to make a difference. Animal agriculture, the meat industry, the fashion industry, these are huge contributors to climate change and the pollution of the environment. Jane inspires us to live consciously. Lastly, this is why every evening on the banks of Mother Ganga, at our sacred Ganga Aarti, we inspire the thousands of people who are there to raise their hands and take a pledge to stop using single-use plastic, to not pollute water, to prevent others from polluting water. We make everyone raise their hands and pledge, and we bring together leaders and communities of different religions to work together for our water, our air, our soil, and our planet. Because to protect the planet is prayer. To protect the planet is puja. To protect the planet is dharma. So thank you so much to Jane, to Shweta and her entire team, and to the amazing organizers for giving us this opportunity today to remember that spirituality is not about sitting with closed eyes in prayer and meditation. It is about rising from our mats, rising from our cushions, and taking that spirituality, taking that prayer into the world. Thank you so much.
My portions are started with the Vasagi River. I would now like to request Francesca Santoro to please come and share her view of the Ocean Dialogues here today.
And I'm looking here at Dr. Jane Goodall and dearest Shweta and colleagues from UNESCO and colleagues from the British Council. I'm so grateful that together we made this event possible. it seems like we were discussing this with Shweta some time ago, and it seems like, you know, a dream, and now dreams come true. So I'm really delighted to be here to open this first ever edition of the Ocean Literacy Dialogues in India. I think this is a beacon of collaboration and commitment as we navigate the challenges of the UN Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development. The Ocean Decade is a global initiative proclaimed by the UN General Assembly and coordinated by the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission of UNESCO. And it's a very important opportunity, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to reverse the trend in the decline of ocean health. It's also a great opportunity for all of us to finally transform ocean science, ocean knowledge into action. And that's what we need desperately. In particular, Ocean Literacy, which is the program that I have the honor to coordinate at the IOC, calls for transforming ocean knowledge into action and empowering, most of all, empowering everyone to use that ocean knowledge to drive actions concretely, from schools to policy making, to decision making, from local communities to governments. Everyone has a role to play, and everybody should know how to use that power to drive change, the change that we need. Issues that are facing the oceans are dramatic. Increasing CO2 emissions are causing ocean acidification, loss of biodiversity, sea level rise, and coastal cities are going to be in the front line of the impacts due to climate change. So we need to establish coalition of goodwill people. We need to establish partnerships. We need to establish networks of people. We want to bring together champions from all sectors, from diverse backgrounds. We want to bring together scientists, educators, policymakers, advocates, all united by a shared commitment for ocean stewardship, sustainable ocean stewardship. Addressing the ocean challenges cannot be a solitary endeavor. We must harness our collective knowledge that will last well beyond the Ocean Decade, which will end in 2030. We need to establish new networks by bringing together. This is why it is so important to be here in India, where lots of people, and some of them are here, are bringing their passion to forge a new blue hope for the future and for the generations to come. Together with all of you, the IOC strives to foster a lasting impact, turning the ocean literacy principles into real-world action. I need the sea because it teaches me. That's what the Chilean poet Pablo Neruda was saying, and the sea has taught me a lot of things. In particular, that we are all interconnected on this world and on this planet. Therefore, more than ever, in this very fragmented world, we must pursue to be connected, to realize a better planet for all living beings on Earth. In closing, I'm deeply grateful to the museum for making this event possible in this spectacular venue. Congratulations to everyone involved, to Shweta's team. I know it took a lot of work to be here, but now it's amazing to see all of us together, united by a unique passion, which is passion for the ocean, passion for this planet, and passion, I believe, for the idea that we can really make a difference if we are joining our forces, if we are guided by true passion, and if we are guided by feelings that we are able to share with everyone. So I thank you very much, and I hope you will have a great Ocean Literacy Dialogues.
Swimming in the ocean. But who made all this possible? Who gave us this opportunity?
List of names to whom we should be thankful as a role to play during our life, even if we don't know what it is. So I greet all of you as equals. I also want to bring into this space a voice that's never been heard before, a voice that deserves to be heard, and it represents the voice of the animals. Chimpanzee Jane. So, because I spent so much of my life studying chimpanzees, obviously when I talk about animals, I think of chimpanzees first. And they are our closest living relative, and we differ from them only by just over 1.5% of our DNA. But I want to go back to the beginning. And first of all, I owe so much to my mother. I was lucky to be born with a very supportive mother. And it was even as a tiny little girl that I loved animals. She tells me about a time when I was 4 years old and we lived in London. She took me for a holiday into the country, onto a proper farm, not one of these factory farms. And one of my jobs was to help collect the hen's eggs. Well, there were about 4 or 5 little hen houses a bit higher than this, where the hens slept at night, but in the day they pecked around in the farmyard. So I would go around the outside of the little hen houses, and there were boxes where the hens were supposed to lay their eggs, and if there was an egg, I would pop it in my little basket. Well, apparently, I began asking everybody, but where is the hole where the egg comes out? I couldn't see a hole like that, and nobody answered my question. What I remember vividly is seeing a hen. She was brown, and she was going up into one of these hen houses, and I must have thought, she's going to lay an egg. So I crawled after her. Big mistake. She flew out with whoops and fear. And now I'm on the path of discovery. So I go into an empty hen house and I wait, and I wait, and I wait, and finally a hen comes in, and I see the mystery of the birth of an egg. So by this time, my mother was about to call the police, it was getting dusk, and I'd been gone 4 whole hours. So those of you who have 4-year-old children know that's a long time for a child to sit still in a small, stuffy hen house. My mother, instead of being angry, how dare you go off without telling us, don't you dare do that again, which would have killed all my curiosity, she sat down to hear the wonderful story of just how a hen lays an egg. And when I think back on that story, that was the making of a little scientist, asking questions, not getting the right answer, deciding to find out for yourself, making a mistake, not giving up, and learning patience. It was all that, and a different kind of mother might have crushed that early curiosity, and I might not be where I'm standing now. So the importance of having a supportive mother is borne out also in our closest relatives, the chimpanzees. We're now in our 64th year of study, and we now know that the mothers will support their offspring, even if they themselves are quite low ranking. Those offspring will grow up, the males will rise to a higher position in the hierarchy, and the females will be better mothers. So that's just one example of ways in which chimpanzees are so like us. My dream of going to Africa and living with wild animals and writing books about them began when I was 10 years old. And I'm sure you've all heard of Tarzan of the Apes. And we had very, very little money when I was growing up. World War II was raging. But I saved up my few pennies of pocket money, and I would spend every Saturday afternoon in a little second-hand bookshop, and I found this little, very cheap edition of Tarzan of the Apes. No cinema back then, no television, and I read it from cover to cover. And of course I fell passionately in love with this glorious Lord of the Jungle. And what did Tarzan do? He married the wrong Jane. Right. Yeah. Anyway, that started Hydree. Everybody laughed at me. Jane, how will you get to Africa? You don't have money. It's far away. It's a dangerous place. And you're just a girl. But not my mother. She said, if you really want to do something like this, you're going to have to work really hard, take advantage of every opportunity, and if you don't give up, hopefully you'll find a way. And I've taken her message around the world, and particularly to those in disadvantaged communities. And I wish Mum was alive so that I could tell her how many people have said, thank you, Jane. You taught me because you did it. I can do it too. Well, it wasn't easy. I was good at school, very good actually, but we didn't have money for university, so I had to get a job, did a secretarial training, and I just had to get a job in London. And then came that opportunity, a letter from a school friend inviting me to Kenya where her parents had bought a farm so I could get to Africa. But money. So I couldn't save money in London where my job was. I went home and I got a job as a waitress in a hotel around the corner, and it was jolly hard work, but eventually after about 5 months I'd saved up enough for a return fare to Kenya. In those days there were planes, but they were very expensive, and that first journey was by boat. And it should have gone through the Suez Canal, but there was a war between Britain and Egypt, and so we went all the way around the Cape. And it was so exciting, the grey sea of Britain gradually got warmer and bluer, and then I saw flying fish, and then around near the Cape, dolphins jumping around the boat. The first place I set foot on African soil was Cape Town, and it was so exciting. But after a bit, the two people who were taking me around, I asked them, what is this on the back of the seats in the parks? It's in the doors to the hotels and the restaurants. In Afrikaans, Seksrand. Oh, they said, white people only. I wasn't brought up that way. My father was a congregational minister. My grandfather was a congregational minister. And we judged people by who they were and not by the color of their skin. So I couldn't wait to leave Cape Town. Finally got to stay with my friend in Kenya. And the very first morning when I woke up, outside the window was the paw print of a big male leopard. Yes, I'd arrived. Finally, this was my Africa. I spent time with my friend. And then somebody said, Jane, if you're interested in animals, you should meet Dr. Louis Leakey, famous paleontologist, anthropologist. And I went to see him at the Natural History Museum. He took me all around. He asked me so many questions. But because I'd spent hours in the Natural History Museum in London and read as many books as I could about animals in Africa, I could answer many of his questions. And 2 weeks before I met Leakey, the secretary had suddenly quit. He needed a secretary, and there I was, and I was surrounded by people who can answer all my questions about the mammals and the birds and the reptiles and insects and so on. So he let me go with him and 3 other people and a few of the Kenyans to help with the cooking and so on, to Olduvai Gorge, a very, very famous site for anyone interested in fossils. And I think it was the night when I was allowed out onto the plains after the hard day's work. It's in the middle of the Serengeti. And I came, well, I just felt something behind me, and I looked around, and there was a young male lion, fully grown, with wisps of mane on his shoulders. And the young woman who was with me was terrified, and she said, "We must hide in the bushes." And I said, "The lion will know where we are, but we won't have a clue where the lion is. We must go up onto the plains," which we did. And apparently that was the right thing to do. And I think it was that evening around the campfire that Leakey decided I was the person he'd been looking for, he says, for 10 years, to go and be the very first person to learn about the behavior of chimpanzees in the wild. It took a year to get the money. It took a year to get permission from the British authorities, because Tanzania was Tanganyika back then, sort of one of the last outposts of the crumbling British. The authorities said, a young girl on her own in the forest, we've never heard of anything so ridiculous. No, Leakey never gave up. So in the end they said, well, but she can't come alone. So who volunteered to come with me? That same amazing mother. And she was a great support for me, because for 4 whole months, and I only had money for 6 months, for 4 of those 6 months, as soon as the chimpanzees saw me, they disappeared into the undergrowth. And it was Mum who sort of boosted my morale, saying, yes, Jane, but you found that peak, and with your binoculars you're learning all kinds of things about the chimps that they can wander about alone or in small groups. Sometimes all members of what we now call a community come together when there's a new food available. You learn how they make nests or sleeping platforms up in the trees, and you're learning about the foods they eat and the calls they make. So it was pretty sad that she had to leave just 2 weeks before the great breakthrough observation, which you all know about now, but it was very, very exciting back then. I saw the first chimpanzee who had begun to lose his fear of me, sitting on a termite mound, and he was using pieces of grass to fish termites from their nests. And he was sometimes picking a leafy twig, and to make that into a tool to fish for termites, he had to carefully strip the leaves. David Greybeard, as I named him, was using and making tools. And I say back then it was exciting because science in its wisdom, Western science, had defined us, man, the tool maker. Well, of course, today it wouldn't be exciting. Many animals use and make tools. Many use tools and some make tools. But back then it was really exciting, and that brought in the National Geographic Society, whose pages you tore out, and they decided that they would fund my research when the first 6 months' money ran out, so I could settle down. And the first thing that came as the chimps gradually lost their fear was how like us they are. Gestures and postures of communication. They kiss, embrace, pat one another, beg for food, bow in front of a superior, pat one another in reassurance. And they were like us in so many other different ways. So as I'm learning more and more about the chimpanzees, getting accepted into their world, getting to know the individuals' vivid and vivid personalities. And then I get a letter from Louis Leakey saying, Jane, I picked you because you hadn't been to college. I picked you because I wanted someone with a mind uncluttered by the arrogance of Western science. But now I want your whole bunch of scientists to take you seriously, so you have to get a degree. And there's no time for an undergraduate degree. I've got you a place in Cambridge University to do a PhD in animal behavior. So you can imagine I was nervous. I had never been to college. And I got there. Imagine how I felt when these learned scientists told me I'd done everything wrong. Jane, you shouldn't have given the chimpanzees names. No David Greybeard, Goliath, his best friend, or Flo with a big family. No, you should have given them numbers. That is scientific. And then they said, And you cannot talk about them having personalities, minds or emotions, because they're unique to humans. That's how it was. Fortunately, as a child, I had a wonderful teacher. And that teacher had taught me that in this respect, these London professors are completely, absolutely wrong. In fact, they were talking rubbish. That teacher was my dog, Rusty. And anybody who shared their life with any kind of animal knows perfectly well, we are not the only sentient, sapient beings on the planet. Anyway, I didn't confront the professors, it's not my way. I just went on quietly, writing about the chimpanzees as they are. And I got my PhD, and I went back to Bombay. And they were the best days of my life. I could spend hours out in the rainforest and learn about the interconnection of all living things. So I wasn't learning about the ocean, but Bombay is on the shore of a lake, and in the wet season you can't see the other side. It's almost like living on an ocean.
Yeah.
And it's the same kind of thing. It's very important for life on the land. So why did I leave this paradise? Because I realized in the mid-1980s that right across Africa, forests were being cut down, the chimpanzee numbers were dropping. And I didn't know what to do about this, but I knew I had to do something. So first of all, I got money together so that I could visit the chimpanzee research sites across Africa. By then, there were 6 other scientists studying chimps. And I visited those places. I learned a lot about why chimpanzee numbers were dropping. But I also learned so much about the plight of the people living in and around chimpanzee habitat, the crippling poverty, the lack of good health and education facilities, and the degradation of the land. People were beginning to move further into the forest, taking with them their diseases, all of which can be caught by chimpanzees, the contagious ones. And also they were catching some of the chimpanzees' diseases too. HIV came from chimpanzees, for example. So when I flew over the tiny Gombe National Park, where, by the way, we are still studying those same chimpanzees, David Grabier's great-grandchildren. We're in our 64th year. But when I flew over in the mid-1980s, what had been part of the forest belt stretching right across to the west coast, I looked down to my horror. It's a tiny island of forest surrounded by bare hills. More people living there than the land could support. Too poor to buy food from elsewhere. Literally struggling to survive. And so it hit me then, if we can't help these people to find ways of living without destroying the environment, we can't save chimpanzees, forests, or anything else. So we began our program. We call it Takari. It started Take Care. It's known everywhere as Takari. It's very holistic. There's no time to go into it now, but it includes things, scholarships, to give girls a chance at secondary education. Back then they had none. Microfinance, based on my great friend Muhammad Yunus's Grameen Bank, so that the very poor villagers could start their own small environmentally sustainable businesses. We worked with the Tanzanian government to improve the health and education facility, and we introduced water management programs, and many others. We're still growing it. Anyone who's interested, there's a book called Local Voices, Local Choices, because it was the very first true community-led conservation program. It wasn't a group of arrogant white people going into a small, poor village and telling them, well, we're going to do this will improve your lives. No, it was a group of 7 carefully picked local Tanzanians. They didn't even have a PhD. And they went and sat with the villagers and listened to their problems and asked, what can JGI do to make your lives better? So that's how it began. It started with the 12 villages around the Gombe National Park. It's now in 104 villages throughout Jim Range in Tanzania, and it's in 6 other African countries where JGI works, studying, protecting, conserving chimpanzees. So while I'm doing all this, obviously it's costing money, and by then I'm traveling around the world, trying to raise money, yes, but more importantly, for me anyway, raising awareness, helping people understand what we're doing to our planet. And so I was meeting, even back in the late 1980s, I was meeting young people, high school, university. Already back then, they were losing hope in their future. And 12 of them came to see me in my home in Dar es Salaam. And they were worried about all kinds of things, about poaching in the national parks. They were worried about street children with no homes. They were worried about illegal dynamite fishing. They were worried about the treatment of stray dogs, on and on. They wanted me to fix it. I said, well, I suggest you go and get your friends who care. We'll have a meeting. So about 30 young people, and we had a meeting. And from that meeting, our Roots and Trees program was born. And right from the beginning, we decided the main message would be every single one of us makes an impact on the planet every single day. We cannot live through a day and not make some sort of impact. A little boy in Burundi, he was 7 years old, he said, well, I can live without making a difference. I said, well, what will you do? He said, I'll stay in bed. And I said, well, you'll stay in bed, but you'll be breathing air. You'll probably get hungry and want some food. And you know the other things that you do when you're in bed. So he said, oh, I see. So Roots and Shoots began with these 30 young people. It's now in 71 countries. It has members from kindergarten, even some preschoolers, right up through university. We even have some adults taking part. And when you hear young people can make a difference, yes, they can, but they are making a difference. I can't begin to tell you the kind of projects that the young people are doing around the world. And here in India, JGI India under Shweta and the team, they're making a difference, right, Shweta? They're making a difference. And we have Kelly Fox here from Taiwan. And in Taiwan, the young people, yes, are making a huge difference. And I'll just be going to China. There's 1,000 groups across China. They're making a difference. And so it goes on from country to country. And it's one of my greatest reasons for hope. And yes, as one of you said, we are living through dark times. We're living through very dark times with our wars and our climate destruction and all the rest of it. You have the young people. They're so filled with energy and enthusiasm once they understand the problems and we empower them to take action. And then, secondly, in addition to the young people who are making such a difference, there's this extraordinary intellect. Biggest difference between us, chimpanzees, and other animals is this intellect. Yes, animals are way, way more intelligent than we used to think, and that's why, with me, my 2 little friends here, rats don't have a good name, right? Ratty represents the giant forest rat of Africa. They have an amazing sense of smell, do rats. Actually, they make wonderful pets, just ordinary rats. But these giant forest rats are being taught to detect landmines with their amazing sense of smell. They've helped to demine Mozambique. They're now working in Angola, Cambodia. They're also being trained to go into the ports. They can climb up the containers and they sniff out endangered animals or endangered animal parts from the illegal wildlife trade. And some of them are being taught to go down after an earthquake or a bomb, down into the rubble and detect living people. And they have a cute little bell around their necks. If they find if they find either a piece of wildlife or they find a living person, they stand up and ring the bell. It's very cute to watch them trade. Piglet, pigs are as intelligent as dogs. And if you don't believe me, Google, not now, but later, Google, not Picasso the artist, but Picasso, and you will see an amazing demonstration of a pig who loves to paint. And she's not exceptional, it's just that somebody bothered to give her the chance and to show what she could do. So that's to say, we live on a planet where we tend to disregard other animals and just march into their homes, their habitat, as though they're not there. We kill them, we hunt them, we breed them in these terrible factory farms. We do all kinds of unspeakable things to them. We need to realize they're much smarter than we used to think. And just like my dog Rusty, they can really surprise you with the kind of things that they can do. And that's just two of the animals. I could bring many more. I'm going to the ocean. Many of you have seen my octopus teacher. If you haven't, you should, because it's the most extraordinary story of a relationship between a man and an octopus. And Craig Foster has become one of my closest friends, not only because of his love of the octopus and the ocean, but because when I was young, that's what I wanted to do. I read Jules Verne, 2,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and for a long time all I did was draw fish, read about fish, dream of being down under the ocean. So in that way I do have a connection with the oceans. And it's really true that the oceans, the green, and the oceans, the blue, and the forests, the green, make up most of the planet. They absorb CO2 from the atmosphere and all these other things. So the human brain, yes, animals are way more intelligent than we used to think, but they couldn't make a rocket that went up to Mars, a little robot that crawled off taking photos. They couldn't design the internet. Our brain is exceptional. I believe partly because we learned this way of communicating with words so that we can discuss things as today. We can bring people together with different viewpoints to discuss a problem and try to find a solution. So anyway, there we are. And isn't it absurd that the most intellectual, note I don't say intelligent, the most intellectual creature to ever walk the planet is destroying its only home. This is the only blue and green home we have, and we are slowly destroying it. I actually see, by the way, so I don't say intelligent, because intelligent creatures don't destroy their only home, but we're intellectual, and we need to start bearing our intelligence on finding solutions. So, you know, I see humanity as though at the mouth of a very, very long, dark tunnel, and right at the end of that tunnel, a little star is shining, and that star is hope. Between us and the star are many, many obstacles. But it's no good sitting at the mouth of the tunnel and hoping the star will come to us. No, we have to roll up our sleeves, we have to climb over, crawl under, work around. All these obstacles, like climate change, like loss of biodiversity, like poverty, because as long as people are poor, they will continue to destroy the environment and survive. Unsustainable. I do my best, but I know my lifestyle isn't really sustainable, not with the number of people that we have on the planet, and that number is still growing. And so the problems are the loss of soil, the industrial farming. You know all these problems. I'm not being listed, but there are many. And the good news is that for every problem, one or a group of people are working to solve it. The problem is, and this was already said, actually quoting myself, I think, but the thing is, so many of these groups are working in isolation. And we cannot solve these problems by ourselves. We need collaboration. We need to think holistically, because we may solve one problem and create another. If we've thought about that other, then maybe it can be solved before we create it. Closed down a coal mine, yeah, all these emissions no longer go into the atmosphere. But we haven't thought about all the people who lose their jobs. There are groups who train people into new ways of making a living if their industry closes down. So if we thought of that at the start, we could have solved both problems, one before it was even created. So getting together, working together, sharing information with each other as we are doing today, that is also very important. And yes, the ocean, the pollution in the ocean. In Tanzania, I live on the shore of the ocean. I see the pollution washed in every single day. I know about the plastic patches out in the ocean, and I know how important the ocean is. So the forests, so the wetlands, so the wetlands, so the grasslands, and so on. We need to save the planet. We need to work together to save the planet. And my last reason for hope is what I call the indomitable human spirit, the people who tackle what seems impossible and won't give up. And some of them are icons, like Nelson Mandela, like, what's your icon? My brain's gone, Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi. There are icons like that, attempting and succeeding in the impossible. But then there are people all around us, people who are tackling problems that seem insoluble and not giving up, and they're succeeding. And this, my last introduction, this is Mr. H. Mr. H has been with me 33 years ago. 33 years. 33 years ago, he was given to me for my birthday by a man called Gary Hall. That's why he's Mr. H. Gary thought he was giving me a stuffed chimpanzee for my birthday, and I made him hold the tail. Gary chimps don't have tails. Well, Gary went blind when he was 21, and he was in the US Marines. So while he's living in this new dark world, for some strange reason, he decides he wants to become a magician. Everybody said, "But Gary, you can't be a magician if you're blind." And he said, "I can try. If he was standing here, I promise you wouldn't know he was blind." He arranges his props beforehand, and he's completely and utterly amazing. But even more amazing, at the end of his shows, which are for children, he'll say to them, "Something may go wrong in your life." I mean, at the end of the show, he tells them, "I'm blind." And they're amazed. And he says, "Something may go wrong in your life." We never know, but if it does, never give up. It's always a way forward. And he does skydiving. He's been down in the ocean with great white sharks. And people say, "Well, Gary, what's the point of going to look at great white sharks if you can't see them?" He said, "Unless you're blind, you cannot imagine the change in the pressure of the water as that huge body goes by." Most important of all to me, he's taught himself to paint. And here's this man who's completely blind. He's never seen Mr. H. It's only told him that he's made an amazing portrait just by feeling. And so, Shweta, I'll try and remember, if you remind me, to send you that picture, and you can share it in one of your newsletters here in India. So those are my main reasons for hope. The energy and commitment of young people, the incredible human brain, we are beginning to use it wisely. Oh, and the resilience of nature. I should have forgot that one. Resilience of nature. So if you fly over Bombay today, you won't see bare hills. Trees have come back. Nature, given a chance, is amazingly resilient. Animals on the brink of extinction can be given another chance. And then finally, the indomitable human spirit. So That's my message to you. It applies to forests, it applies to oceans, it applies to rivers and lakes, it applies to any environment that we can think of. And so important to green cities. Conquering the ocean into a city, it may come of its own volition if the levels go on rising. You don't want the ocean in your city, because I imagine it does. But you do want trees. Where I am now, I can see a lot of trees driving in from the airport, very few. We need more and more trees, and then together we can stave off the worst of climate change. We can start slowing it down. We can slow down the loss of biodiversity. And Shweta, you and your team are doing a great job, and everybody working on the oceans doing a terrific job. We need all of it. So I hope that many more roots and shoots groups will spring up because they're communicating all around the world and they understand more important than the color of your skin, your country, your language is the fact we're all human beings. And that's the message I will leave you with. Thank you.
Children here below the age of 18, you are welcome to the stage. Please come. All the children below the age of 18.
ID, please.
Come. All the children below the age of 18, please come on the stage.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Grandstand.
सर थोड़ा पीछे थोड़ा पीछे भाई आजा पीछे होने हो रहा है ना अरे भाई आ जाओ एक्सक्यूज मी मोबाइल प्लीज कम मीडिया Yo, look here.
Chimpanzee.
How about last people hold it? Guys, those who have finished, please move back, please. Yeah, look here, all of you look here. Hold it firmly. Please come back. Hold it. Please firmly. लगा चल मेरे आगे उनको नहीं दिख रहा है साइड में आ जाए
Speakers at the Ocean Literacy Conference, could you please come up? Come, please.
Excuse me, ma'am. Please.
No flash, please.
Is this for me? It's for you.
We have mobilized over 60,000 young people to teach coming outside South Africa. Thank you so much. Ma'am, can I take a picture? Is it possible?
Just one picture.
Just one picture.
So I should take a group photo. Yeah, just come.
Take a group one.
If you're in the same group together, so you can take a group photograph.
No, you can't go there, you must come here. Otherwise you get some huge and him tiny.
US also I did. US also I did the webinar along with the mistress about the root centuries. So I was so happy to meet you, really.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Hey,
Doing work here. So if they can just get a photo. Reina, just get one.
Just a group photo, please.
Yeah, she's the giver.
Lovely. Thank you so much. Alright, just a quick photo. You have to look at the camera for the group photos because Lovely. Good. Let's take a group. Oh, thank you so much. You look so handsome like that. Are you in it? Perfect. Yeah. Are you sure everyone's in it?
You should. I can come here. This side. Okay. Should I get it?
Yes, please, of course. Let me take your photograph.
Oh, thank you so much.
Of course. There we go. Oops, oops. One, two, three. Cheese. Monkey.
Monkey peace.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I don't ask for that. Yeah. All your day was we're trying to.
And then you want to have coffee? I don't. Thank you so much.
Because you can just go there and then make it talk very nice.
First of India, why not?
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. In the Aarti time, we'll launch it there.
Isn't that amazing? That would be an out-of-the-world experience.
Done. Do you know when it's going to be published?
I've finished writing it, so it will take
Another good 6-8 months. Yeah, perfect. No problem. Lovely.
Don't forget.
I will never forget. Send me a message.
Sure. And because of the inspirational words, I'm going to write some more.
Wonderful. Wonderful. What is your name?
I'm the educational director of Jane in India. And she's Pooja. She's also from Jane Buddha. He's come from Chandigarh.
You should come to the Kumbh. Like you're doing Rivers of India, you should come to the Kumbh and we'll have our own ashram.
I was thinking that originally, and then I realized there's no way her books will be ready to be published in 2 months. But you come anyway for sure. Of course. Get more inspiration from more authors.
My publisher will be hitting the ceiling. I mean, like everybody will be jumping up and down.
Anyone?
Emotionally not.
Everybody.
Mark is home to the world.
My wife stopped
Absolutely. Sure, of course.
This way, landscape.
Ma'am, also teaching younger children about like environment and stuff like that. And like I love your speaking. It like it brought out all the values I was already thinking about.
So well. So well. And give me give her my card and take her contact details because you know some of the ladies.
I know that you know. Okay. So I just have a couple of questions for you. For people who do not know a lot about you, can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Sadhvi Bhagavati Saraswati. I am originally from Los Angeles, from Hollywood. By God's grace, I came from Hollywood to the Himalayas almost 30 years ago when I was 25 years old. I had graduated undergrad from Stanford. I was doing a PhD in pediatric neuroscience. Came to India with a backpack, having no idea I would stay. But I was so touched and inspired and transformed that I stayed back, and now this is home. I am Secretary General of the Global Interfaith Wash Alliance. We bring religious leaders, religious communities together for water, sanitation, hygiene, and environmental protection. I'm also president of Divine Shakti Foundation, that works for women and children, education, empowerment, upliftment programs, and it's just such a beautiful honor to serve in this way.
Okay. How has Jane's journey inspired your line of work? Or everything that you advocate, or things that you try to instill in younger generations? How has Jane's journey inspired you?
As I said when I was speaking, when I was young, and anyone asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, my answer was always Jane. At 25, when I had this incredibly powerful experience on the banks of Ganga here in India, and knew that I wanted to stay, and everyone told me, crazy, first finish your PhD, get yourself settled, get yourself established, then take 1 or 2 years, you go, chalega, but at least do this first. It was Jane's courage and Jane's example of what it means to really embody connection and clarity and courage and compassion and dharma that gave me the courage to follow in the footsteps of my hero and listen to my heart, no matter how much everybody thought I was crazy. And she's encouraged me every minute of my life because giving her entire life, every minute, every moment, every breath, for the planet, for the animals, for the habitat. This is what my feelings. As I said, you know, we speak about water shortages and land shortages and food shortages. We speak about the climate crisis, but really what we're facing is a consciousness shortage and a consciousness crisis. And Jane helps us remember to to raise our consciousness. And she helps us find that consciousness in how we live, every minute and every moment of the day. And she reminds us that everything we do, what we eat, what we wear, what we buy, every minute is an opportunity to make a choice for life, for health, for peace, for harmony. You know, here in India, we learn from the scriptures, Vasudeva Kutumbakam, the world is a family. But long before I learned the Sanskrit, the Vedic teaching of the world as a family, Jain was the one who taught me. The world is a family. It's lovely to Thank you so much for the beautiful work that you're doing. When this goes on social media, you'll share it with us and let us know, and we can help share. Renu, do me a favor. Give her a card. And then you can message me, and these are all good. Yeah, let us know. We have a good network. We'll help share it and get the word out as much as we possibly can. Just want to share Jane's message and mission.
You speak about her with so much devotion.
Oh my God, it's lovely. I've spent my life being devoted to her, so
thank you.
आपके पास वैसे वो माइक्रोफोन नहीं है ना, तो फिर वो ठीक नहीं लगेगा।
नहीं, वॉइस
आएगा लेकिन बढ़िया नहीं आएगा।
मेरी तो आवाज़ हो जाएगा मास्क?
हाँ, हो जाएगा वो। ओके, स्टार्ट।
कौन सी कैमरा में देखो? मेन वाला। What a blessing to be able to join my lifelong hero, Jane Goodall, here in Mumbai for her Reasons for Hope tour, and to be able to speak at the inaugural event here in this beautiful oasis of greenery in the middle of Mumbai. And that's what hope gives us, is it gives us life, it gives us greenery. It helps us grow and blossom and expand. And that's what we need. Because whether it's climate change, whether it's violence, whether it's poverty, environmental destruction, whatever we look at, we are the answers. We are the problem, and we are the solution. And Jane, at 90 years old, traveling around the world still, she stood for 45 minutes giving a talk. She shows us all the power of passion for compassion, and the power of living your hope and making that hope actually come true. Not just hoping for it while you sit back in a chair and eat potato chips, but actually manifesting that hope into reality through your actions, through your words, and through the way that you inspire and educate the youth, the next generation and the now generation. I feel so blessed to be able to have been here and to be here with Jane and to take that message of hope, of passion for compassion, of an expanded consciousness. You know, we speak about water shortages and land shortages and food shortages, but really what we have most is a consciousness shortage. The climate crisis is also an education crisis and a consciousness crisis, as we spoke about in this event. What we need to do, all of us together, is raise our consciousness, live consciously, what we eat, what we wear, what we buy, what we do, and through that, we will protect, preserve, serve, and save this sacred, beautiful, blue, green, vibrant planet of